There are lies that leave bruises. And then there are lies that drain the life from everything you built. Not the kind of lies that come with a raised voice or a slammed door. The quiet kind. The kind that hide behind a straight face and an easy explanation. The kind that let someone look you in the eyes every morning and say nothing. Alena thought she had a partner. A provider. A protector. A man who carried his share. She wasn't asking for extraordinary. She wasn't asking for lavish vacations or expensive dinners or someone who made every moment feel like a movie. She just wanted someone who was honest. Someone whose word meant something. Someone she could trust with her future and her name. Until the day she opened a bank statement and realized she had been funding 2 families. Alena and Marcus had been together for 12 years. They met in their mid-20s, young, ambitious, still naive enough to believe that love was the hardest part. Marcus was charming without trying to be. He had the kind of steady voice that made people believe him without question. The kind of handshake that said, "This man delivers." From the outside, they looked solid. A modest home. A shared dream. A man who spoke of sacrifice. And a husband every colleague respected. Marcus was dependable, hardworking, steady. At least, that is what everyone believed. When their first child arrived, Alena cut back her hours. When their second came, Marcus encouraged her to return to work. He said it was about their future. About building something real. She believed him. She worked. She saved. She poured her energy into a life she thought they were building together. But sometimes, the most convincing performances are built on the deepest depths. Because behind that steady voice, Marcus owed something to someone else entirely. It started long before Alena ever suspected. Before the second child. Before the mortgage. Before she was waking up at 5 in the morning to make it to her first shift on time. It started with a relationship Marcus told himself was finished. Her name was Diane. They had known each other for years, long before Alena, long before promises. And somewhere in those years, there had been a consequence neither of them planned for. A daughter. Small. Real. Already here. Marcus didn't walk away. He told himself that made him responsible. Noble, even. He told himself he could manage it. That it would stay quiet. That no one would be hurt. But a secret is only manageable when it stays the same size. And this one was growing. She wasn't demanding. She didn't have to be. She simply existed, and Marcus had made a promise he could not undo. At first, the amounts were small. A few hundred here. A transfer there. Just enough. Just occasional. He told himself it was temporary. That Diane would find her footing. That things would stabilize. But needs don't stay the same size, they expand in silence. And before long, Marcus was maintaining 2 households. One with his wife, and one he had never intended to confess. A child he had never introduced. A life he had built in parallel. So Marcus began rerouting money. Small amounts first, then significant ones. He was careful, the way guilty people learn to be careful. Grocery overestimates. Repair invoices. Cash withdrawals labeled as business expenses. He learned the language of financial misdirection. And for a while it worked. But the truth was simple. The money was going to Diane. And Diane was no longer easy to manage. She was tired of the arrangement. She was tired of sharing a man with another family. She wanted stability, real stability. I need a place for our daughter, Marcus. A real one. Not this. She wasn't asking anymore. She was telling. And Marcus had no leverage left. Because he couldn't walk away from Diane, but he also could not afford Alena finding out. He was not protecting two women. He was protecting himself. So he made a decision. A reckless one. The kind that only makes sense when you've already lost the ability to think clearly. Marcus did the unthinkable. He began scheming from there. Joint account. Not a little. Enough to matter. Enough to be the reason the balance never climbed. Enough to be the reason Elena's overtime never seemed to go anywhere. Month after month. While Elena worked her first job and drove straight to her second. While she skipped lunches to save money. While she told herself they were almost there. Almost. But debts don't stay invisible when two people share a life. Elena started noticing things. She was not a suspicious woman by nature. She was not someone who looked for problems. But she was smart. And smart people, eventually, stop explaining away what doesn't add up. A balance that never climbed, no matter how much she deposited. Transfers she didn't recognize, small, easy to overlook on their own. Numbers that never matched her memory of what she had put in. The math wasn't working. And Elena had always been good at math. Something was wrong. She just didn't know how wrong yet. She didn't confront Marcus immediately. She had learned something over 12 years of marriage. That a man who lies smoothly will lie smoothly when confronted. She needed more than suspicion. She needed proof. So Elena began tracing. Not loudly. Not emotionally. Carefully. Methodically. The way a woman investigates when she stops trusting explanations and starts trusting evidence. She pulled statements. She printed records. She laid 12 months of transactions on the kitchen table and began reading them like a case file. And the evidence was undeniable. It happened on a Tuesday evening. Marcus was out of town, or so he said. The children were asleep. The house was quiet in the way it gets when everything is about to change. And Elena sat down with 12 months of statements. She started at the beginning. She followed the money. She opened the records. And stopped breathing. There it was. A name. A number. Recurring. Monthly. Loyal. More consistent than any bill. More reliable than anything Marcus had ever offered her. Marcus, who is Diane? She sent the message with her hands perfectly still. Because she already knew. She didn't know the details. Yet. But she knew. A long silence. The kind that answers the question before any words arrive. Then a message with no greeting. I can explain everything. But Elena wasn't waiting anymore. Because in that moment, the entire 12 years rearranged itself. Every tight month that she had accepted without complaint. Every denied vacation she had quietly let go of. Every time she told herself they were being responsible, saving, sacrificing, building toward something. Every double shift. Every skipped dinner. Every time she reassured herself, we are fine, we just need to be careful. She had been careful. She had been so careful. And he had been spending her careful on someone else. Marcus came home early, and the moment he walked through the door, he knew. The statements were on the table. Elena was in the chair across from them. She didn't look devastated. She looked resolved. And somehow, that was worse. How long? Elena, please, it's complicated. How long has she been receiving our money? The word "our" hung in the air. 12 years of ours. Every account, every paycheck, every sacrifice, ours. Silence. The kind of silence that collapses every excuse before it forms. Marcus had no answer left that would mean anything. He had explanations, he had rehearsed them, even. But no explanation changes a number. No apology restores 12 years. She was not losing a husband that night. She had already lost him years ago. She just hadn't seen the receipt until now. Elena did not scream. She did not break down. She had already done the hard part alone at that kitchen table. She had already grieved, quietly, completely, before he ever walked through the door. So when Marcus came home, she was ready. She simply gathered what was hers, and became unreachable. Taking her income, her children, and her name back. Leaving behind the joint account that had been slowly emptied. Leaving behind the shared address that had been a cover for another life. Leaving behind the man she once believed in with everything she had. Marcus kept the house. And the debt. And the silence that comes when the person you lied to finally stops asking questions. Not because she abandoned him. But because he had already spent everything that mattered. Diane got her stability. The daughter got a name on paper. And Marcus got exactly what comes to every man who tries to maintain two lives with one truth, everything, all at once. The lawyers. The split. The unraveling of 12 years. The look on his children's faces when the world they thought they knew shifted beneath them. There is no version of this story where the ending is clean. That is the part people forget when they make the choice Marcus made. It never stays contained. It never stays manageable. It just grows, until the weight of it breaks through the floor. This story is not just about money. It is about consequences. Because hidden obligations don't stay manageable. They grow. They compound. And one day, they come due all at once. They don't just take the secret. They collect everything you thought you were protecting. Every relationship you told yourself you were sparing. Every person you convinced yourself hadn't been hurt yet. When it comes due, and it always comes due, it takes all of it. Elena is building something new now. She is not starting over, she is starting correctly. For the first time in 12 years, the money she earns is hers. Every number on her statement means exactly what she thinks it means. That is not a small thing. That is everything. So ask yourself, honestly, what are you quietly taking from someone that they would never forgive if they knew? What weight are you carrying that's already changing the shape of the life you share? Because the longer you wait, the less of it survives. If this story made you feel something, if it reminded you of something or someone, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because the next story might be the one that finally explains something you've been trying to understand.